I love beer. No, let me rephrase that. Patrick loves beer. I love bread. Together, I made beer bread. I used 3 cups of all-purpose flour. You can even use bread flour if you have some. This recipe works well with either one. Add 1 tablespoon baking powder to this, 2 tablespoons of sugar, about 3/4 to half teaspoon salt. Mix the dry ingredients, and then the star of our show is some beer. You can use whatever you like. Apple beer, pumpkin beer. I had a Yingling lager at home, so that's what I used. But you can use any beer of your choice. Add the beer to the dry ingredients and make a dough. The dough will be soft and almost like a cake batter. Add it slowly and let it incorporate into the dough. For this bread, the leavening is through the beer. We are not going to add any yeast to this recipe. So if you can't find yeast, this is the best bread to make. And who doesn't have beer at home? The next thing to add to our dough is some honey. Take 2 tablespoons of honey and add it to our dough. Mix it and let it incorporate. Next, I softened about 3 tablespoons of butter, of which 2 tablespoons I will add to my dough and 1 tablespoon I will save for brushing for later. Add the butter to the dough. Don't panic if your dough looks too runny. I promise you it turns out just fine. Let the butter mix into the dough. Take a loaf pan, spray it with some non-stick spray, add a piece of parchment to the bottom and spray again on top of the parchment. Next, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 40 minutes. Your bread could take about 5 to 7 minutes longer depending on your oven. Then I added the dough to my prepared loaf pan. I used a 5x9 loaf pan for this recipe. Melt the butter that we had saved earlier to brush on top of the bread. Here we go. You can brush about half of that butter on top, and we will again save a little bit to brush when the bread comes out of the oven. Our bread is ready to go in the oven. Because there is no yeast involved in this recipe except the yeast that's in the beer, we don't have to wait for the bread to rise or anything. So this is a quick bread recipe in case you would like to make one on the fly. All done. It smells heavenly. What can I say? I love the smell of beer bread. I brushed the remaining butter on top of this bread. Enjoy, don't forget to share. Baking by Shona, eating and beer drinking by Patrick. Thank you for watching. So today's baking tip. Whenever you bake, add a small cup of water into your oven to incorporate some steam so that whatever you're baking, whether it's a cake or bread, gets some moisture and comes out soft. Thank you for watching.